Hey, it's your boy Kai, and welcome to the Kyrus Has Friends podcast. Now, for those of you who have been following my TikTok journey, I have been watching Gilmore Girls for the first time ever in my life. And I have been documenting this entire experience of me, a Black 33-year-old from Philly, watching Gilmore Girls for the very first time. And I've been documenting it on TikTok via these 60-second reviews. Those reviews are continuing, but for the first time, I will be doing more extensive recaps right here on YouTube and on my podcast for each episode. And the reason being is that there's so much that I want to say sometimes that I just can't get out in a 60-second recap. So I decided, okay, I take notes during the episode anyway. How about I actually use my already established podcast and just talk about Gilmore Girls and the episodes that I watch. So we're going to do that. That's what we're going to do. And today I'm going to be reacting to season 4, episode 16 of Gilmore Girls. Before we begin, please be sure to hit that subscribe button and be sure to follow me on all of your favorite social media platforms, especially if you want to be the first person to see my reactions to Gilmore Girls and so many other movies and TV shows that I watch on a daily basis. Follow me on your favorite social media platforms at The Vibe with Kai, or visit my official website at thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and videos and things that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. Once again, it's your boy Kai, and this is season 4, episode 16 of Gilmore Girls. It's titled "The Reigning Lorelai." So let's talk a little bit about this episode. I want to pull up some of the stats here about this episode. So this episode, it aired back on March 2nd, 2004, and it all has to deal with how the family, I guess, dealt with the passing of our beloved Trix, who is the outspoken mother of Richard, who has always had this, I guess, I guess hatred for Emily, and we learn more about that in this episode. So we it's all about, it goes all about that. It goes into all of that, which is really interesting. And then we get a little surprise at the end when it comes to the person playing that played Trix. So we're gonna get into that as well. But that's what the episode is pretty much all about. I'm happy with this episode mainly because the previous episode, I was not a fan of. Those of you that follow me on TikTok and on Instagram, you know that season 4, episode 15 of Gilmore Girls is probably one of my least favorite episodes, not only of the show, but of Gilmore Girls in general. In general. but they kind of worked their way back up, so that's okay. Let's go into this a little bit. I'm going to share my screen here. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll get to see some of the pictures that I'm sharing. If you're just listening on my podcast, you won't get to see the pictures, but I'll kind of describe what's happening in each scene. So first and foremost, the show opens up in this scene right here, which is the Gilmore sitting around the table for their normal Friday evening get-togethers. And it is in this scene that we discover that Emily's friend, one of Emily's best friends, has passed away. And so she's a little sad about it. I believe her name was Sweetie. I believe her name was Sweetie. And Lorelai had a really funny exchange with Emily talking about how she got the name Sweetie, like the nickname Sweetie. And finally, Emily, begrudgingly, I guess, told the background to the name Sweetie, which was a really funny moment between these two. But the really interesting thing with this scene is that we discover that the funeral for Sweetie is, I guess, that's either Friday or that Sunday. It was one of the upcoming days, and Richard had a previously scheduled event that was taking place that he was pretty much reluctant to exit out of, and he had asked Emily. He's like, "Hey, do I actually need to go to this funeral? You know, do I need to actually be there? I have business that I need to take care of." And Emily, who was obviously I guess, taken back by that. She was obviously a little upset with Richard. And she's been, at this point in the season, she's been very upset with Richard for a variety of things, especially when it comes to his ex, Penelin, whatever her name is. She's been a little upset with Richard lately. She also does not like his mustache at all. You can't see it in this picture, but Emily is not a fan of Richard's mustache at all. And that's just a few of the things that Emily has had to deal with Richard so far in season 4. So she's already upset with him. And so when Richard asked, do I actually have to go to this funeral? She reluctantly, obviously not wanting to have an argument, just says, whatever, just go do what you have to do. But she is clearly visibly upset with Richard in that regard. Richard has no idea how upset she is. He's been just caught up in work, and he is just not aware at all about how Emily feels about that. So we go from there and we go into this next section where this is a really funny exchange in this part right here. So Lorelai shows up to Luke's diner, and Lane is pretty much running the place at the moment, and we're wondering why. Like, where's Luke? And Kirk points out to Lorelai that Luke is currently having a little spat with his girlfriend wife. They decided to see if they can date again, since technically Luke is still a married man. The divorce hasn't gone through yet. So there's some sort of spats going on between Luke and his wife. Lane is running the diner at the moment, and in this scene, Kirk says that he can read lips in this episode. So the funny thing between him and Lorelai is that Lorelai is wondering what they're arguing about, and Kirk says, I can read lips, and then he goes to, quote, read the lips, but it's obviously not making much sense what Kirk is saying that they're saying. It's clear that they're not actually saying what Kirk is saying that they're saying, but it's Kirk, and everybody thinks he's crazy. But the really funny thing here is that right before this scene, he has a little exchange with Lane saying, hey, my food doesn't smell right. My food, it does not smell right. Was it cooked in the same pan as the fish? And Lane is like, no, the eggs were not cooked in the same pan as the fish. The eggs were cooked in the egg pan, not the fish pan. Come to find out, he was right. The eggs were made in the fish pan. I would have been upset. I'm allergic to most fish, so I probably would have died. So I feel for you, Kirk. I hope you know that. From there, we go outside. We can't hear this conversation that's happening. So on the screen right now, you see a picture of Luke and his wife. They have been arguing. This is what Kirk was trying to read the lips for with Lorelai. So here's the thing. Y'all are going to call me crazy. I know this already, and I'm okay for this. I know that we're not supposed to like his wife. We are all Team Luke. I get it. But let the record show that I think she's cute. I think she's cute. Her name is, in the show, her name is Nicole. She's played by Trisha O'Kelly. And the short hair businesswoman look, I'm a fan of. I think she's incredibly cute. Obviously, things between her and Luke are not great. But I mean, I'll date her, I guess. She's my type. I'd give it a shot. Why not? But in this scene, Luke has had it with her, and he walks away. And it's funny that this is happening because I actually just put out a TikTok recently asking a question. If you're getting into an argument with your significant other and things are getting a little heated, would you prefer if you stayed and talked about it, or would you rather walk away and calm down? And the really interesting thing is that the results were split, like in half. Half of the people were like, no, we need to handle this right now. You better not go anywhere. The other half of people were like, no, I'm going to walk away before I say something that I'm going to regret. In this case, and this happens later on in the episode too, Luke walks away. They're clearly in the middle of a conversation. Luke walks away. Whatever the exchange was, he's not happy. He's frustrated. And he walks away. And Nicole is like, how dare you walk away? I don't like that. Next, we go over to Yale, Harvard. I have to sneeze. That's how you know this is a real podcast, my friends. I sneezed on my podcast. If you said bless you, I appreciate you. I could have muted myself, but no, this is the real stuff here, friends. I want you to hear my sneeze to prove that I am a human being. So with that said, we go over to Rorys College. Also, I can't say Rory. I'm really bad at it. I have to, if I do say it right, it's because I have to really think about it. I can't say it. I'm really bad at it. I've been working on it. I've been practicing, but alas, I'm really bad at it. So in this picture right here, we see Danny Strong. That's not his character's name. That's his real life name. His name is Danny Strong, who plays the character of Doyle McMaster, who is the editor-in-chief over at the newspaper, the school newspaper that Rory, you see, it's really hard for me to say this, that Rory works at. They have a nice exchange here. I don't know why I highlighted this moment. I think I just wanted to talk about him in general, because I remember when I first met him earlier in the season, I wasn't like a big fan of him, but like I'm not going to say he's grown on me, but I don't dislike him nearly as much as I thought I would. So shout out to you, Doyle. I don't hate you. I don't hate you at all. I think that's why I put this slide in here. Shout out to Doyle. In the next scene, we head over to, I believe this is Suki's house. We have Suki, we have Michelle, ma chère mademoiselle. It is with deepest pride and greatest pleasures that we welcome you here tonight. And now the dining room invite you to sit back, relax, let us pull up a chair as the dining room proudly presents the Westminster Dog Show. We have Suki and Lorelai going through some, I'm going to assume, some finances and stuff for the Dragonfly Inn, which they're looking to open soon, still under construction. And in the background, we see Michelle, who is very much wanting to record the dog show that he is missing. I feel bad for Michelle in this moment because DVR was not a thing yet. I mean, if it was, it wasn't as prominent as it is now, let alone where you could just go online and watch it. Poor Michelle. But it's in this scene that Lorelai gets a call from Emily, her mother, saying that Trix has passed away. Rest in peace, Trix. Rest in peace. Lorelai is talking to Emily, and Emily says that she wants that Richard is really upset, and that Richard really likes mock turtle soup. He really likes mock turtle soup. Now, the reason that I'm pausing here is because I have to catch my breath. Because I learned something today. I watched this episode live on TikTok. For those of you that don't know, you can follow me on TikTok at The Vibe with Kai. And every now and then I'll watch an episode live. I watched this episode live and I asked, what is in mock turtle soup? I asked the people that were in the live, what is in mock turtle soup? I had no idea. I've never had mock turtle soup before. So I asked, what is in mock turtle soup? And somebody said that it has brains and organ meats. I thought the person was joking. So I said, ha ha ha. That's funny. Let me look it up and see what's actually in it. So I look it up, and this is what it says. Mock turtle soup is an English soup that was created in the mid-18th century as a cheaper imitation of green turtle soup. Mock turtle soup often uses brains and organ meats, such as a calf's head or a calf's foot, to duplicate the texture and the flavor of the original turtle's meat. I realized in this moment that the person that told me in the live that mock turtle soup consisted of brains and organ meats, then realized that this person was not lying. This person was telling the God's honest truth, and I was not mentally prepared for this at all. Brains and organ meats. So here's the thing that I want to know. In this episode, Emily says, Richard likes mock turtle soup. Can you get some for him? And so Lorelai, who is sitting next to Suki, who is a chef, asks Suki, do you have the ability to make some mock turtle soup? To which Suki says, I think I have this recipe lying around here somewhere. Let me go look it up. Next thing you know, Lorelai showing up to the house, Emily's house, with mock turtle soup. Here it is. This is what I want to know, Suki. Mock turtle soup consists of brains and organ meats, such as calf's heads and a calf's foot, to duplicate the texture and flavor of the original turtle's meat. Suki St. James, where did you get these brains and organ meats on such short notice? Where did you get this? I asked this question when I wasn't alive. Somebody wrote, Suki knows a guy. Perhaps she does. But that also scares me. At no point in my entire time watching Gilmore Girls did I ever say to myself, I'm afraid of Suki St. James. But after this moment, she was able to get her hands on brains and organ meats and calf's heads and calf's feet. At any moment's notice, and make a delicious soup out of it. I've never had mock turtle soup. I don't think that I will. I'm looking at a picture of it right now. I'm good. Let me pull it up here so we can all take a look at it. Mock turtle. Oh, if I learned how to spell. Mock turtle soup. Let's take a look at some of these pictures. This is mock turtle soup. It looks so innocent, right? It looks so innocent. But it is not. This has brains. This has organs. This has calf's feet and calf's heads. I'm afraid to click on some of these pictures that I see on my screen right now. I don't want to click on this. What is this? There's no way. There's no way. I'm not into this kind of stuff. I don't think I would ever try it. Have you ever had it? Have you ever had mock turtle soup? And if you have, did you like it? Comment here on this video. I want to know if this is something that you would eat. Look, this is mock turtle soup in a bunny bowl. How horrific is that? Oh man, what is this picture? Oh, good Lord. This is a picture, it looks like Alice in Wonderland with a rabbit with a turtle's body, a lamb with a turtle's body. What is happening? Thanks, Obama. So let's go back. So we got the mock turtle soup. That's what's in that Tupperware right there. This is when Lorelai shows up to Emily and Richard's house to see how they're doing. Now I'm fidgeting here because I have to blow my nose. This is real. This is what happens, guys. When you live a life full of allergies, you have to blow your nose all the time, especially in the spring. I'm going to mute myself. I'm going to hide so you can't see it. It's going to go silent for like 10 seconds. I'm back. I'm keeping this all in. I hope you know that. I could easily just edit that out, but I'm not going to because I want you to see how human I am. I have bad allergies and my medicine has not kicked in yet. But alas, here we are. Mock turtle soup. She goes to the house. She's talking to Emily here. She asks how Dad's doing. Dad is not doing well. He's upset. Look at him. This is Richard. He's in his study. He's in his office right now. He's devastated. His mother has passed. And we all know how close Richard was with his mother, obviously. He's really upset, drinking scotch or whiskey. And this is a really good, I actually really like this moment between these two, this scene between Lorelai and Richard, because we don't often get scenes between Lorelai and Richard that are tender. Now, obviously, this is a little different because there's a extracurricular circumstance that comes into play here, and it's not necessarily just about their relationship. But I think that this is important to see because we don't often see Lorelai and Richard on the same page, let alone Lorelai helping Richard in some fashion, feeling bad for him. But here she is in this scene. So I took solace in this scene because I think it's important for the show, for the show to do this, right? So I really, really like this scene. One thing that I don't have a picture of, but I wanted to highlight is that at one point, Jason shows up. Jason, aka Digger, which I hate. I hate that name. Digger, Digger. I hate it. Jason shows up needing to get some papers signed by Richard and all of that. And I'm not a big Richard fan. I'm sorry. I'm not a big Jason fan. And the one thing about that scene that kind of like blew my mind was Lorelai said, "Hey, are you going to come to the funeral?" And Jason's like, "I can't do funerals. It makes me feel weird." No, Jason, you go to the funeral. That is your partner's mama. This isn't some random funeral. This is your partner's mama. It's not about you, Jason. I think if it was any other person, I would be like, oh, well, I get it. You know, some people don't like going to funerals. Some people don't like going to, you know, hospitals because it makes them feel weird and icky. Sure. But in Jason's case, no, sir. You go to your partner's funeral, your partner's mama's funeral. You better be there. That's what I would say. I have thoughts about Jason. Maybe when we get to a Jason-centric episode, maybe I'll go into more details about why I don't like Jason. I dislike Jason more than I disliked Max. I actually have a little respect for Max now after his final episode. But I'll make another recap about that one day. Let's focus on Rory. Rory. This is a picture of Rory getting a call from Lorelai and her reacting to the news that Kyrus has passed away. And even though her and Kyrus were not close, they really didn't have many scenes together or experiences together. You know, she says that she'll be at the funeral. She'll be there. You hear that, Jason? Rory's going to the funeral. So your ass better be there too. So I'm flashing forward a little bit here. This is a picture of Rory alongside Doyle as they talk about Rory is doing some research on Kyrus because Richard was not happy with the obituary that was written for Kyrus, his mother. According to Richard, they left out a bunch of stuff that should have been in there. But Lorelai doesn't have time to write it because she's handling everything else. At this point, Emily is just on another planet, and we'll get into that in a second. Richard obviously is on another planet too because he's grieving. So Rory takes up the mantle and says, I'll write the death notice. And I have some things at school that I can use, some resources at school that I can use to highlight the things that Kyrus has done. And she finds a bunch of stuff in the archives here. But she gets caught because you're not supposed to be using school resources for personal gain, which is something that Doyle was talking about earlier on in the episode. So she gets caught, and what does she do? She lies. She lies. And those of you that know me know how I feel about Rory and her lying. I might have to do like a reaction video on her lying at some point, because she lies a lot. That's why I say that Rory manipulates people sometimes, and people don't like when I say that Rory is manipulative. People don't like when I say that, and I get it. But even small white lies, like what she told Doyle here, she ended up admitting to it, right? But small things like that, it says a lot about your character, because you do it a lot. Now, I'm not talking about like character as a character in the show. I mean character as in like the things that are within you as a person. She lied. She lies here. She's lied to Dean. She's lied to Jess. She's lied to her mom. She's lied to grandma. She's lied to grandpa. But that's another story for another day. That's why I'm highlighting this right here, because I think it's important for us to highlight that. This scene, oh boy. In this picture right here, we see Lorelai and Emily going through the various paperwork that needs to be, sorted through for Trix and her estate. And this scene starts out pretty normal, but it ends wild. There's a couple things that happen in this scene. Number one, we find out that there's the Gilmores, they're not against marrying second cousins, which is weird. I know it's old school, but it's weird. It's a little weird. Might also explain a lot. But the other thing that happens in the scene is that Emily finds a letter that Trix wrote to Richard the day before Richard was to marry Emily. And in this letter, Trix says, Richard, you should not marry this woman. She might be good for somebody, but she's not good for you. She is not a Gilmore. She does not have what it takes to be a Gilmore. She was in her feels about that. Emily was. Emily was in her feels. Understandably so. And now I was watching this episode live in front of people. And one of the first things that people said to me was like, Kai, don't you feel bad for Emily? Don't you feel bad for Emily? She just found out that her mother-in-law did not want her to marry Richard. Do you feel bad for her? In a way, yes, sure. But don't hate me for what I'm about to say, because I know that I'm going to get a little crap for this. But you know me, I like looking at things from a different perspective. Do I feel bad for Emily? Yes. But with that said, would you be surprised if Emily were to do something similar to Lorelai? Would you be surprised? I would not. Look at the way that Emily and Richard treated any of Rory's boyfriends that she brought over for the first time. Look at how Emily and Richard have treated Lorelai anytime that she's dating somebody that they don't know about or that they don't approve of. This bias runs in the family. And while I do feel bad for Emily, I do, because nobody should have to read that. I also can't help but say to myself, man, she would do the same. She might do the same, and I couldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised if that happened to her. If Lorelai, let's just say hypothetically, Lorelai passes away and the husband is going through Lorelai's stuff, and then he finds a letter that Emily wrote to Lorelai saying, I don't want you to marry this man. He's not a Gilmore. He can't be a Gilmore. He went to Mercer County Community College. He didn't go to Yale or Harvard. If that happened, that wouldn't be too far-fetched, right? That's all I'm going to say about that. I think some people might have tuned out by now after I said that. That's okay. In this scene right here, we see Lorelai and Rory going through the estate stuff that Lorelai and Emily were going through, which is a really interesting switch that we get here, because we saw Emily and Lorelai going through this estate work, and then we switch over to Lorelai and Rory going through it, and just the dynamic is different. And it's funny that Emily is always asking why her and Lorelai can't be the same as Lorelai and Rory. And just this scene alone makes it so clear why. And I wish Emily could see it. I wish Emily could see it, because it makes it so clear why Lorelai and Rory have this special connection that Lorelai and Emily may never have. Once again, this is my first time watching it, so consider it my ignorance. But I'm watching it for the first time, and I hopefully will be surprised, just like many of you were when you watched it for the first time, when you didn't know what was coming next. So let me live in my ignorance, damn it. Let me live in my ignorance. This scene was pretty cool. We got to see Emily in a different light. So soon thereafter, Lorelai and Suki go over to start prepping things for the funeral. They get to the house, and it is in disarray. There are just tons of flowers there. Emily sent all the maids home, gave them the day off, and they walk in, and Emily is drunk and smoking a cigarette, which is hilarious. I like that we got to see this side of her, even though it's tragic and she's obviously traumatized right now. It was really cool to see this. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed seeing Emily like this. That sounds so sadistic, but I mean it. By that, I mean, like, I enjoyed being able to see a different side of her, where she's not always just so uppity and put together. This is her just being like, screw it. Obviously, as a human, you never want to see somebody go through something like this, but it's a fictional character in a fictional TV show. And we don't often get to see this character like this. And even though she was being a little over the top, which is fine, that's what she does. I thought this was a good moment for her to showcase this this other side of her. Luke is still arguing with Nicole. There's a really funny scene here. This is later in the episode. This is a different argument, where the patrons of the diner are sitting there in silence, listening to Nicole and Luke have this gigantic argument upstairs in Luke's apartment. And then Luke comes down and he starts taking Miss Patty's order. And Nicole comes down. She's like, I wasn't finished talking to you. And Luke was like, I have to work. And then they go outside and they continue arguing. Luke is a good guy. Luke is my favorite character in the show. By far. Not even close. Nobody's come close to him yet. He's a good man. In the previous episode, we saw him lend Lorelai $30,000. He's done a lot of good things for people. And while he can go on his rants sometimes and he can be a little angry about things, his heart is always in the right place. And as much as I like Nicole, I don't agree with her and how she's treating him, but I like her. He does deserve better. But I like Nicole. I like Nicole for Luke. And I know people are gonna give me crap for that because obviously everybody's shipping Luke and Lorelai, myself included. But let the record show, I wish that these two worked out. I don't know what's happening next, but it's clear that they're on their way out. I wish that these two worked out because I think they could have had something. I really do believe that. Listen, I had this thing for Luke's exes. I liked Rachel back in the earlier seasons. I was a fan of Rachel. I'm a fan of Nicole. I know it's crazy. I just have a different perspective than most people. That's okay. I think it's a good thing to have a different perspective. So we later find out that Lorelai has a little breakdown because she has checked off everything from her to-do list for the funeral, but one thing, and that is she has to buy Trix's dead body underwear to wear. Let me repeat that. Lorelai forgot to buy underwear for Trix's dead body. So where does she go? Victoria's Secret, obviously, to get some expensive ass underwear, pun intended. And this poor sales attendant has to listen in as Lorelai has her freak out of the episode about underwear. But it was funny though. I found it really funny that she decided to go to Victoria's Secret to get her grandmother her dead grandmother underwear, some nice underwear. And then the underwear that she does pick out, I was like, that's some ugly underwear. There's other pieces of underwear in there that look better. And then I remind myself, it's for a dead grandmother. And then I move on. I loved this scene between Rory and Richard. In this scene, Rory is helping Richard tie his bow tie. And Richard's like, where did you get these instructions on how to tie a bow tie? And she's like, the internet. Which made me laugh. I like this scene. That's the reason that I have it here. Richard and Rory. I enjoy when they work together. And then last but not least, my friends, the show jumps ahead. They don't show any of the funeral or anything like that, but they do jump ahead and they show the reception, I guess, of said funeral for Trix. And we meet this woman. This woman, the character's name is Marilyn Gilmore. Marilyn Gilmore is played by Marion Ross. Marion Ross plays Trix. We all know that the Palladinos like to reuse actors in all of their shows, sometimes within the same show, different characters, same show. They did that here. Marion Ross gets to play Trix, who they just had a funeral for. And she also gets to play Marilyn Gilmore, who is attending said funeral. At first, I was a little weird. I felt a little weird about it because, like, this is what I said during my life. I said, as a viewer, we try so hard to empathize with the characters, right? So when characters are grieving a loss, they're grieving something that is taken from them and there's a hole now in their life. And I think, like, personally, I feel as though it's important for viewers to view that same loss, that same hole that is there should be there for the viewer as well. And I thought it was a little too much to have the same character play Marilyn Gilmore as the one that played Trix, the one they're having a funeral for. Because as a viewer, especially one like me who is a critical viewer, right? And I don't mean that in a bad way. I mean, it's literally my job to be critical and give my thoughts. I thought it was a little cheesy to do that, to have the character play this, because I want to be able to say, oh man, I miss Trix. I miss the person that plays Trix. That is a loss that I now have to deal with as a viewer that is emotionally attached to these characters. But as a viewer, I now know that I don't have to miss Trix. Yes, the character is gone, but they fill that void with another character played by the same actor. It's very tongue-in-cheek. And so, like, that loss that we're supposed to feel is no longer there. And from a storytelling perspective, I was a little ticked off about that, because they just spent 75% of the episode trying to help us cope with loss. And yes, the characters don't know that, obviously the characters in the fictional world that this is set in are dealing with this loss. And I get that. But as a viewer, I think it's very important for writers and storytellers to be able to take viewers alongside that journey. Not saying that viewers are incapable of feeling that loss still, but sometimes I feel like you have to legit spell it out for viewers sometimes. By having that hole be so evident that you could clearly say, I miss that character, or I miss that actor or actress that played that character. That character is now gone. But they're not really. I feel like this is the Paladino's way of saying, yes, Trix has moved on, but she will forever be here in some fashion. Which is fine, because that's the kind of show this is. It's a feel-good show where everybody is meant to feel good at the end of the day, no matter what. And that's why there's a lot of people that like to put on this show as background noise, because they know that it's a show that'll make you feel good at the end of the day. And that's okay. That's a good thing. So I totally get it. I totally get it. At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. But as a critical viewer, I have to sometimes really dive into that. And that's okay. Like I said, I enjoyed the episode. A lot of people ask me what my score is at the end of my episode viewing. I give this a 6.5. I give this episode a 6.5 out of 10. It was way better than the previous episode, which I was not a fan of. But this is a 6.5 out of 10 for me. It didn't really progress the overall stories that much, but it was a nice one-off episode to say goodbye to a character, and we got to see another side of Richard and Emily that we don't usually get to see, which is exciting. So I enjoyed that part of it. So with that said, yeah, that was fun. I'm ready for the next one. A lot of people are saying that season 4 is their favorite season. People say that a lot. I'm looking forward to it. So far, it's my favorite-ish season. I have to see if they stick the landing. Apparently, they do. So we'll see. But with that said, friends, if you enjoyed this, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Follow me on your favorite social media platforms at The Vibe with Kai. Or visit my website, thevibewithkai.com, where I'm always posting blogs and videos and things that'll help you do good, feel good, be good, and live a good life full of good vibes. My friends, thank you so much for watching. As always, my friends, God bless and good vibes.